Hi, everybody. This is Holly from Holly's Pandorium, the Paranormal Podcast. And I am so excited because my cousin, Joe, shared this person with me. And we're going to visit with all of you and talk about stuff that I think you will find very interesting. This is Winter Real. Hello, Winter.
Hi, I'm so excited to be
And
here.
I'm so excited to have you here. It's so great. So, first things first, what do you do in the paranormal?
I am a medium and I,
Awesome.
and I've worked as a medium professionally since COVID. I quit my job. But
Wow.
since I was a little girl, I've been very aware of being a medium.
That is awesome. So, just for everybody listening and watching, can you think of a particular incident that happened to you that really made you go, "Wow, the paranormal is real. What is this?" And then tell us how it affected you. Can you do that for
Yeah,
us?
I would love to. Okay. So I have a lot of them. So it's pretty there was a lot of them I could think on.
No,
But
that's
I
great.
I went to a deep memory of mine, and it was back when I was about 2 to 3 years old. My grandmother actually lived in a local Victorian home. So where I'm from in Waxahachie, there's historical homes, and they're called the Gingerbread Trail. But anyway, so a lot of people live in them and keep them restored and tour them. And she lived in one right across from the library. It's this huge Victorian home. Well, as I grew up, she watched me there. So I'd play as a toddler around, and I had always seen and heard spirits from as early as I could remember. But I remember this one time we were there. It was summer probably because it was extremely hot, and I was running around the house, and she was doing away in the kitchen, as grandmothers do, probably like cooking something up. And I ran up this long, long staircase that she had, with those banisters that just
Oh, sure.
you could slide down forever.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Of
I remember
course.
being so little, I could barely pull myself up it. So I would have been, pretty young because I remember struggling to like get up this thing. And
Okay.
I get to the landing and I look around and I hear this tapping. And I could always hear this girl named Victoria. She was a little
Mhm.
girl, so that's for context. I could always hear her and see her, so
Okay.
I played with her a lot. But I knew that it wasn't. I finally realized, like, clicked that this wasn't well, quote unquote normal, because
Okay.
I heard the tapping and I go, "What is that?" So I'm skipping down the hallway, and in the alcove of the hallway, so there's like a little inlet. There was
Right.
a shelf with a old typewriter on it, and it was
Okay.
typing itself. It was going
Oh,
click, 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 and I was like,
whoa.
"Oh, that's not." And then I realized, I guess in that moment, that who I was perceiving was within myself and not as physical as I realized. And
Okay.
kind of realized, oh, that's a ghost. Like, and then I
Okay.
started understanding, oh, these are ghosts, because I
Okay.
remember my parents always talking about it. Very spiritual in the South,
Mhm. Sure.
religious. Uh,
Right.
so I was playing in the room, and I remember I'm just talking away to her. This is another time, like later in that day. And
Mhm.
she comes in there and she goes, "Who are you talking to?" And I say, "Victoria." And she goes, "There's no one here." And I say, "Yes, there is." Like she's sitting right next to me. You know,
Right. Duh, grandma.
Yes, she had long brown hair, like ringlet curls. This little Victorian girl. So picture a Victorian girl, and
Sure.
that's her.
Sure.
And little pigtails and like bow. And I remember just doing tea parties with her all the time. And
Mhm.
and then my grandmother made me realize in that time period, like when they started talking about it, my parents, like my
Oh,
mom and my grandmother, they're like, she's talking to ghosts. And I was like, oh, I could overhear them. And I
sure.
remember that from a very, very young age, them speaking
Right.
about it and kind of like, and I don't think they were necessarily scared as much as they were like kind of intrigued and even concerned.
Sure. Oh, of course. Of course.
Because they never really treated me like that. I'm more so scared myself later on in life. So
Mm.
I could tell you more about. I had another paranormal house that was very active,
Go for it. Go for it. We
and
love stories.
I think at this time I was more like 4 or 5. And I remember I would hear kids running around upstairs playing all the time. And my dad, he would fall asleep on the couch. And so one time we left to go get lunch. We were out getting Whataburger, as Texans do.
Mhm.
And and I remember getting home and my dad's asleep and he starts, and my dad was a very loud, abusive man. So he's like yelling. He's like, I told y'all to stop playing upstairs and all this stuff. And my mom says, Robert, they were with me. We were not here. And he goes, that's BS. I heard y'all running upstairs and laughing. And
Oh,
uh,
funny.
yes. And apparently he had had it happen several times where he would hear it and then he would run to the landing of the stairs because it was a two-story home. And
Right.
he'd hear them giggling and he'd run up the stairs and nobody would be there. And he
Oh
was
my
uh,
goodness.
and as a Catholic, because he grew Catholic, he's
Right.
Hispanic, and he was like, no, because his beliefs were like, I'm not doing that, and so
Right. Sure.
yeah, very much was like, and so he told me he's like, you need to stop playing with them, and blah 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 blah, and then I remember
Ah,
that's when the unsettling started happening within me, like
okay.
where it went from fun and interesting and very
Mhm.
playful to me feeling like perturbed by connection and very like unsettled because of like the way my parents were treating it or like other
Uh,
people around me started making me feel like, and then it was I feel like now as an adult reflecting on it, I feel like they
mhm.
were trying to play with me. They were reaching out, trying to
Sure.
have fun with me as children do now. But as a child, I was terrified. I remember waking up in the middle of the night and seeing like my doll, my Raggedy Ann doll had moved. And I remember I'd look up at the ceiling and I'd see like, because there was like old doors at this house. And
Right.
in old Victorian homes, at the very top of the door, there's like a window pane so that
Yes.
the air can move throughout the house.
Right.
Well, it would move. When I remember my bed being at the foot of it for some reason was in front of one of the doors, and
Okay.
I woke up one night and a Raggedy Ann doll was on the glass pane, just
Oh,
like above me, looking down at me while
oh
I'm
my
up.
gosh.
And I remember I was so scared. And it was
Yeah.
just different experiences specifically with dolls
Right.
that started really unsettling me. And so
Right.
I had this huge fear of dolls for years until I realized, when I became an adult and I started having my own belief systems come in, and uh,
Right.
I realized like a lot of this is just stigmatized and fearful, where it probably wasn't even scary, but I was scared because of everybody else's energy towards the
And
situation,
their reactions,
right?
clearly.
Because they were just, "Ooh, are you okay?" Like
So
that.
so let's go back for a second and let's talk about when you were having tea parties with ghosts. So
Mm,
you were very young, obviously, when that was happening. So at some point in time when if correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like you were fine until people around you started acknowledging that you were doing something unusual. Is that
yes,
correct?
that's exactly the energy of it. Like, and as
Okay.
I
And
reflect
so
on it,
so when they responded to you and said, "That's not right," or that's when things started to get a little weird for you, it sounds like, 'cause up
right?
up until that time, it sounds like you weren't afraid.
I wasn't
Is that
afraid. I was having a good
right.
time. Like
Okay.
I
Right, okay.
yeah.
So how long do you think that went on for you to have that shift where it was no longer playful and fun and it became scary?
I would say it was only took like 2 years because I was about 2 to 3 when things started really becoming clear that I was gifted and that I was communicating with the spirits around me to m
Okay.
to my parents, and then, you know, I was so self-aware at such a young age. I can, like, remember vividly thinking like, the way I would think now. It's so strange, like,
Mhm.
you're like, "How was I
Right.
2 years old thinking like that?" But I remember just being, like, very self-aware in my body at such a young age, and then yeah, so probably about 2 years. From the time I was, like, 2 to 4, I was
Mhm.
okay, and then about 4, 5, 6, things started getting strange or just, like, real I think it's all perception. Like, for me, it wasn't that it was actually strange things happening to me, it was more that I
Okay.
was scared because of the energy of people around me, and
Okay.
now reflecting on it, like, while I've sat in meditation and kind of, like, reevaluated those life events, I've thought,
Right.
wow, how sad was it for me to have been so scared of myself and my gifts
Right.
because of the things I was being taught. I was very early my own religious. And so I took on those ideals and I took on those feelings of being wrong. And that
Right.
really projected into my entire life and really pushed me into some different seasons of my life that were not that easy, addiction and various
Yeah.
other things of not being able to cope with being gifted and knowing more, feeling different. And I'm sure you can relate to that as someone who like
Absolutely.
felt different for so long. You're just like, and I think it's that self-awareness as a soul, like you've been
Yes.
before, there's things that have happened, you're just like, "Oh, I know. I know this experience," and I don't know. And so sometimes it's been very difficult to like reflect on how I treated myself, but how other people's ideals and beliefs shaped who I saw myself as a person and really could have led me to a path where I didn't live because of addiction and the way that I was not
Right.
receptive to myself. And so a big part of like what I've realized in my gifts now is the way that I connect to mothers and people who have children who are gifted, and
Right.
you know talking to them about how they can show up for their kids in a different way than our own. And not that they didn't do great by us, because my mom's an incredible mom, but it's
Right.
just it would have been a different experience had people
Right.
received it with love rather than fear.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that you'll hear me repeat in my episodes is please, please listen to kids. Just listen. I
It's
mean, we've
so
always grown up with the it's okay to have an imaginary friend, but then again, then it's not.
right.
Come on, it's like it's okay. So I'm curious, how old were you when you met your first psychic?
Um, oh my goodness. So I met someone who was gifted, and I wouldn't until very much later in life realize he was gifted. He was a
Mhm.
medium. Um, his name's Clayton, and he had uh I came across him and I just remember being like, he's different. And I
Mhm.
reflected on that later on in life. I was like, that was
Right.
what the feeling was like you sensing someone who's very much like you, like
Sure.
it's this at home or this understanding
Mhm.
connection of that kind of sort. I really can't recall when I like, because I think forever I watched them. Like since a little girl, I watched The Medium, and
Yeah.
The
Sure.
Ghost Whisperer. I was obsessed
Right.
with Cold Case, and so
Mhm.
like, and that really is oriented around things I want to do in my life, in the future.
Sure.
But
Sure.
yeah, so I remember watching it and being like, that's what I did, and then thinking like, is that wrong? Because, from the text that I read, like the different scripture and that kind of
Mhm.
stuff, like I was so hard on myself. It was so sad, to think about that, to think, wow, she was just a little child who was trying to um, be loved by spirit and be connected
Right.
to the more that is around us. But I couldn't do
Right.
that because I was like terrified that I was wrong or something was wrong with me.
Well, and that's a fair question because as a child, if you're having something naturally occur, and if we put it into perspective, if it was a physical tick, and let's say that you twitched every so often, well, that's natural and you can't help it. It's something your body does. A psychic or medium type of gift is something that your body just does.
I love that.
Um,
That's how I feel completely
yeah.
about.
So, yeah. And so there's a doctor, and I'll tell you more about this guy later, but there's a doctor in California that's done a ton of brain scans. And he's tested psychics and proved that when mediums or psychics are speaking in a trance like situation or during whatever, a seance or a reading,
I've seen
we're
that.
we're not using the front of our brains. It's actually another part of our brains that everyone has. We may have access to this gift, but I genuinely, sincerely believe everyone has it.
Everyone. Oh, I tell that. That's so cool. I love that you said that. I said that to like almost every single person that I
Yeah,
either connect to or connect for. I'm like, you can do this yourself. We're all gifted, and it's just a different way of receiving information, and
right,
it comes effortlessly. Like I am no different from Bob, Steve,
right,
Angela, nobody. And
right,
just about I think loving yourself is a big thing for me. It's like coming into that love that the universe and everything around you and connection. And a lot of that's missed when you're living in a fearful or,
Right.
against your gifts. And there's just so much to be explored with one another, like our connection and the connection to all the people that you come across and the way they
Right.
impact. It's a huge ripple effect. And a beautiful one. It's not, I've never experienced where I felt like negative and scared, honestly, because
Right.
even in the more negative, I've always felt so protected and loved by
Right.
spirit. And
Yeah.
yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And genuinely, I think that when people understand that, it's not something evil or bad, and just because you don't know where it comes from or you may not understand it, doesn't mean you need to be terrified of it. There's a lot of misguided information about that. Um, but I want to know more about you and how you do what you do. So one of the things I have to ask you as an old psychic is, have you observed or have you noticed, if you don't use your gift for very long, have you noticed that you don't feel good?
I have. So, but for me personally, I don't feel good because I like being of service. So, like, if I'm not active in my gift, I feel bad in an emotional sense. And in a physical sense, I haven't felt it because since I aligned with it, I haven't ever given, and you're making me reflect, like, I need to give myself a break. Now I'm gonna have to go take a break and I'll report back to you. But I need to take a break more because I am so actively in it and immersed in the work constantly and go 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 with it that I haven't slowed down enough to notice. But I do notice if I take a pause even a couple of days, I'm like, I want to be connected to spirit and I really want to be working in my purpose because I just feel so full of love when I'm doing it and
Right.
is to my heart. And yeah, so I love that. That's cool.
It's different. And okay, so you've done readings online, correct?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so I'm going to put your tagline out. And
It's
just for a moment, I
mhm.
want you to share with everyone listening and watching, how can people connect with you? And
So
so what do you go by?
yeah, sorry. So you can find me, the Real Medium. It's the Real REEL Medium on Facebook, and I do use TikTok.
Nice.
And then I have a website that's www.therealmedium.com for others to access me, book directly, or I'm gonna eventually put a blog on there to talk more about these experiences because you inspired me to like start speaking more about it. I had really wanted to be more public and I took a step back from it with the passing of my dog. And so that makes sense. Like I do feel
Mhm.
like I did take a step back from it, but I've been really invigorated and reinvigorated in it. And like you inspired me by asking me, I was like, okay, I need to start talking about this kind of stuff because why? It's just fun to hear others' experiences. One,
It does. It's
and
it's it's it, for me it's like it's an affirmation, and it's like I'm not the only one. And I love hearing just the journey.
it's so fun.
Because, well, and it's like somebody that sees a UFO for the first time when they go to a UFO convention, it's like, "My people are here." It's
I
like
want to go
it's
so bad. That is so cool.
oh,
You say,
yes. Yes. So there's one in my area that I go to every year now, and I totally encourage you to come. In fact, I'd love if you can convince Joe to go on a plane with you.
I'll
I know
fly.
you hate planes, Joe, forgive me, but I would love it if you would come.
I'll
It's in
fly with
March every year,
you.
and it's 3 days, and it's called the Oregon Ghost Convention, and
I've
it's
always
on the
wanted to
beach.
go to Oregon.
It's in
I need
Seaside, Oregon, and it's lovely. It's lovely,
okay, you
and
told me. You
well,
said
and you can apply to teach classes if you want, or just have a booth and do readings if you want, or just attend and be a visitor and check it all out. It's
oh
wonderful.
my gosh,
It's
I'm
really
doing it.
wonderful. But
I'm
anyway,
I don't even have
we
to.
I digress. So what happens, talk to me about what's your process when you do a reading, and tell me, what do you hear? Do you smell? Do you feel? Do you see? Explain for people listening and watching what it is you do and how it occurs to you. How
How
does
to
it come to you, as they say?
well, I kind of want to take it back to like when I got sober. I started taking like I was taking a lot of meditation courses at my rehab. So that's an important part. And so I
Okay.
took those skills with me and I started meditating a lot. And I noticed that my stepdad, who had passed away, started visiting me and I could see him. I could see
Okay.
him and I could feel his energy come be with me. And then he started
Okay.
impressing upon me, like, oh, you're going to start doing this, you need to quit your job and start doing readings. And so I was like,
Wow.
okay, I need to know more about what it is to read as a medium. Like, I need to figure out what it is. So I watched a couple, it literally took only a couple videos for me to start. Okay, this is what it is. This is how I need to
Right.
do it. And it was the meditation, I think. It got me back to that frequency and vibration where I was just like
That's
tapped in.
exactly it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I,
Yeah.
I would see them so clearly. And that's how I perceive it now. They do use all of my senses. I love that about communication, but I often see them, someone, not someone coming right here when I'm talking,
Right.
a woman, not a woman coming when I'm talking. Sorry. Anyway, so when I'm talking to them, they'll come sit next to me and I can perceive them. Like oftentimes it's my spirit guides that I've come to know, but it is also like my friends, any family members, any people that I read for,
Right.
I'll physically see them. And that's not always been a part of my gift. I feel like they slowly unfolded things for me as to not scare me because I did start hearing and even in a physical sense. So I do hear them in my thoughts. That's like the
Mhm.
clearest clear audience that I have, but I do hear
Right.
outside of myself. And that can sometimes be like a little startling because you're like, I'm not expecting, I was not
Right.
expecting that. But too, I feel like they're really respectful of like the way that I want communication to come through because if something has been a little bit more traumatic, I do sense like physical pain or injury or those kinds of things when someone's passed away in whatever sense that was. Oftentimes, like I ask them, like I don't really want to feel that, or I don't want to really perceive that if it's making me feel a certain way about it, because the physical sensation is one that you're like, oh my gosh, wow, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, let's pause on that for just a second cuz so just for people listening and watching, a lot of times what happens with psychic and mediums is they're involved in focusing on you when you ask them for a reading, and someone will come through to visit you, let's say a relative, and they want you to connect with who they are right away. So they will do something to the psychic and or medium to make them feel the passing or a significant event.
Mhm.
Um, for example, I had my first veteran from Vietnam that I did a reading for. A dear friend of his had lost a limb,
Oh my goodness.
and that was the first time I felt a severed limb.
It's
Not the last, but
so
the
intense.
first. And it's incredible. And I can tell you now I've going forward, I had a heart attack 13 years ago, so I know what a heart attack feels like, but I have felt that pain many, many times as a medium because people die from heart attacks all the
All the
time.
time. All the time.
And it's not like you don't go through the whole experience, you just get a snippet of it, and it helps you immediately identify, "Oh, when I feel that pressure and that pain in my chest, that's someone who died from a heart attack," or the I can't breathe for a second, that's someone that died from something in their lungs. And this is all association, and it's not meant to be harmful, and
Oh,
it is
not at all.
not. There's no lingering effects. Can you
No.
attest to that?
No
Okay.
lingering effects. It's like
No, it
I
doesn't stay with you. The first few times it happens, it scares the beans out of you because what
I'm a
is that?
scaredy cat, yeah, like, I
What
love
is that?
it.
What's happening to me? Oh my god. Yeah, because it comes out of the blue. And then the person you're, reading for as a person requesting a reading, "Oh, yeah, my aunt, my uncle," whatever it is, it's something for you. It's to
Right.
help you connect with what's being
What's
done in
going
front
on,
of
right,
you.
it's evidentiary, and I, like, again, like, I'm not ever uncomfortable with spirit communication, like,
Right.
always just feel so at home, like,
Mhm. Yeah.
once I did some healing and understanding of myself and gifts, like, it just feels so natural to connect to any kind of energy, right? Because, like,
Yes.
I've done, oh goodness, I did one where I had felt the presence of someone who had essentially killed his partner, right?
Mm,
In a paranormal investigation that I was doing. And it was
okay.
connected to an antique bed. And
Okay.
all of which, in the past would have unsettled me in such a way.
Sure.
Having any of that knowledge or seeing any of those things that I saw, I could see where people would be scared. But now,
Yeah.
just having the understanding that I do, it just like, I just felt so much love for this person. Like, they obviously are here for a reason. Like, they're trying to understand something about their experience in their life or what happened
Right.
to them so that they can essentially move on and move forward. And so
Right.
I love things like that where I've come to a greater understanding of what is around me and, put down my sword and said, okay, I'm wanting to be receptive to what
Right.
it is spirit and the universe wants to share because there's so many cool things about it.
There is. And I can say, and I'm sure you can understand this, people often are concerned when they're around a medium or psychic that we are going to hear or see or just randomly get a thought implant that's very personal
Oh no.
and will expose them somehow
I
by
would
knowledge
never.
that we're not entitled to. And so again, I will share with people, I don't peek, I don't sneak, I don't read unless I'm asked to.
No,
And
I
yeah,
understand.
and I learned a long time ago how to turn it off so that I could be a real person
Mhm.
without a gift and just hear someone speak to me and let them tell me whatever they want to tell me.
I need to work on that for sure, because that's
I
something
can
I
help you with that.
struggle yeah, I struggle with
Yeah.
that immensely. It's like
Well, it's draining if you don't.
right.
It's draining if you don't,
It's
and
a
you
constant
need to be at your
dialogue.
best.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'll help you with that
Okay.
afterwards. But so I love that. So when you um are around people, do you ever notice auras? Are you able to see auras on people?
Okay, so I hadn't before. Um, for years, like, in my spiritual journey, I thought that was the coolest thing. I was like, "I love that people can see auras." I just couldn't, and I was like, "That's fine."
Hmm.
At some point, I started seeing them not when I'm looking at you. If I
Hmm.
close my eyes, I can see it. Like, I can see and sense the colors then in the essence of your aura. Otherwise, like, I don't see it outside of myself. I think that is so neat when people can, like, see
Yes.
someone walking by and they're like, "Oh, yeah, they're they have this aura." I'm like, "That gift is so cool."
Yes. And there's actually, did you know that there's an actual machine that can do it now?
I want to. Yes, I wanna go take a picture. You're I'll come to the fair, and I bet at the events that
There's a
I bet
I have
they
a
have
friend that does that. She did an
okay,
interview with me and her name is Shayna, and she does that, and it's
I
fantastic.
think
It is
that's so
very fun.
funny. Oh, I
So have
love
you
that.
ever seen an energy aura on a plant or a tree?
I do. I do. I actually have connected to trees, and I do think that sometimes people think this is so silly, but they have a spirit to them or energy to them. I've seen
Agreed.
I had a really traumatic actual experience where I was driving and I had come into like really being into my gifts again and taking them on and like listening and perceiving, and I was driving up to this construction site and they cut down this giant tree, and the sound, like, I started bawling. I called my husband. I said, "I know this sounds so silly, but it's a seriousness that needs to be shared, like,
Yeah.
people need to know that they do carry an energy,
Yeah.
we need to hold them sacred, the plants, animals, trees, the earth as a whole has an energy in which we need to honor it, and so I'm very I'm very passionate about the trees. So,
Yep.
I love that
So
you asked me about
you
trees.
know you know the Avatar movie?
Yes, I cry every time.
Okay. So there's a scene in the Avatar movie that I absolutely love, and it's where they show the mother tree and how it's connected to everything. Okay, so there is a show on Netflix, and I think it's still on Netflix. It's called Fungi, and it's all about mushrooms and their connection to the forest.
Oh, I love that.
And so mushrooms actually, for people that don't know, mushrooms are one of the oldest living organisms on our planet and the largest. Mushrooms actually are part of a freeway system of connections in the earth from plant to tree, and so on. And so science has proven that when something happens in one part of the forest, the other part of the forest, thousands of miles away, has a reaction. It's that connected. Yeah.
I love
And
learning
so,
things.
yeah, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And it sounds too fantastic to be real. And if it wasn't able to be documented and proven,
People
I
wouldn't
mean,
think it. No, but science.
it just astounds me that that's even possible.
It's a beautiful thing to, and then for them to bring the evidence forward of that, so
Right.
it can tangibly be seen and
It's
received.
incredible.
It's
Yeah.
so cool. I love that.
Okay, so I have lots of questions for you. Are you ready? I have
Yes,
so many.
I love
I have
that.
I have so many.
Okay.
Okay, so when you do your stuff, whatever it is that you do you have specific guides that you work with on a regular basis?
I
Okay,
do.
tell me about them. I want
Okay.
to hear.
So I have two separate guides. Oh my goodness, not my phone trying to say it's low battery, but it's fine. I have two separate guides. One is named Anthony. Um,
Mhm.
And so I'm really interested in cold cases, and I had the opportunity to kind of look into one when I was first coming into being like working professionally again. And
Okay.
I kept seeing this face. And so I was thinking that it was connected to the cold case. And
Oh,
I would, it's so silly. I would pray, like, because I was still like in a weird place of my life, but I would pray and pray, like, go away, just go away.
yeah,
I
yeah,
would see him all the
right,
and I came to understand, like, this is my spirit guide, and
right.
he was trying to show me his face and his essence so that I could gain a comfortability. I then, like, through meditation and years of connection to my spirit guide, have learned, like, where I feel our connection yields from, and, what it is that we're doing together. um I do like work in trance, and I want to pursue that. And so he's a big part of my trance work, and
Okay,
just kind of like facilitating communication when I'm feeling kind of overwhelmed. If there's a lot of spirit or just a lot of information towards like a certain occurrence within the reading, he'll kind of mitigate and come
mhm,
through. I also have Helena, and she's otherworldly. Um, Anthony, I guess I should clarify, he is a human
okay,
guide. He definitely, I connected to him, said past life, and has the essence of that energy. So like, and I know you probably have felt the difference between like human essence and
yeah,
yeah, and so I do feel that, but my spirit guide. And then Helena is very otherworldly, like just indescribable, almost like a regal energy.
okay,
Holds me very erectly and speaks very confidently and articulate and just all these things. I love her.
nice.
But for the longest time, I thought she was my husband's guide, and so I'd
Oh,
hear her name or I'd get signs, and I'd be like, I think this is your guide. And
oh,
then
funny.
I was like, silly me. She may be also working with him, because they often do that in training.
Sure,
But I was thinking, I wonder how funny it is because she's like been trying to like, hello, I'm like
right,
literally working,
right.
and
So so I wanna share really quick with people when we're talking about connections with guides, and everyone has had this happen at least once in their life, where you're in a room and you sense someone is behind you, and you turn around and, "Oh, there's your son, your daughter, there's your spouse." You just sense someone without hearing anything. That's all it is. It's literally just a sensation, you're feeling like an energy, um, like the first time you hold someone's hand that you like, there's that incredible burst of energy that you feel when you first hold hands because 'cause you're so excited.
it is.
There's all that amazing energy.
I love
Yeah,
that. It's
and
like,
it feels so great, and it's not yucky, it's fun,
mm,
and yeah, and it's nothing to be afraid of, and so I encourage people when you're really needing an answer for your life and you're really wondering, "Am I doing the right thing? Is this right?" Um, ask for input, ask and I the way I do it, and this is really simple, and I'm not sure why I feel like I gotta say this right now, it's for somebody, but when I feel like I'm not sure, am I doing the right thing? Am I headed the right way? Am I doing the right this or that? I just meditate and tell the universe, because I believe that there's a universal consciousness that knows everything,
I do
that
too.
knows everything, everything, and that there are no limits. It's not a bank that's ever going to empty. It's always available. It's full of energy. And I just say, hey, give me 3 signs that I cannot deny to show me that I'm going the right way or the wrong way. Speak to me in a way that I will understand so I make the right choices. I want to be doing the right thing. I don't want to waste my life. I want it to be in the right direction. And I have never, ever in 60 years had a problem with that. I get my answers. Sometimes I get more than what I asked for. And there's often times when I get affirmations that I did not want and I wasn't looking forward to, but I got
Relatable.
them
Yeah.
anyway. But it's a matter of kind of just letting go and let the universe talk to you. And when we talk about meditation, people get weird feelings about that. And you can call it prayer if you want, you can call it meditation. Everybody has a way
Of
of just
connecting.
calming down for a second. It doesn't take 50 hours. You don't need to be a friggin' monk with a
No.
vow of silence for 8 years. It's not that hard, you guys. Don't make it harder than it is. It's not.
I feel like it is a complicated thing that I've often found a lot of my clients, they say, I can't do it. And I'm like, start with affirmations first so you can get control over your thoughtscape. You can do it. You can
Right.
quiet your mind. I promise.
Well,
Go
and here's my rebuttal to that too, because I'm also a hypnotherapist. I do
Oh, I
clinical
love that.
hypnosis. Yeah.
All the
So
things.
everybody at one point or another, when you're on your way home from work, has pulled in their driveways at some point and said, "Oh wow, I'm here already." We all go in and out of states of
Conscious, yeah.
hypnosis and consciousness state all day long. And just to hear your own thoughts, we're so bombarded with noise,
Hmm.
crazy noise. I actually have a hard time with silence. It bugs me. Sometimes I have a really hard time with silence. So I like brown noise and some white noise. And sometimes I just like instrumental things because there's no singing because that distracts me.
Oh my
And
gosh,
some,
I do too. That's so cool.
yeah. And so I have soundtracks that probably seem really crazy to people if they were to listen to them. But I found if I listen to something that's really familiar, it helps me relax. So do
Yes.
that.
It
Just
really
do
it
that.
really
And aim
does
for 2 minutes. Just
each
aim for 2 minutes and you might get 30 seconds the first time and don't beat yourself up if you get distracted 100 times.
this is
It's all right. Tell yourself, "Okay, I can think about stuff later. I just need 2 minutes
to
to
myself.
just breathe."
Yeah.
Just breathe.
I told people not to don't give yourself one more thing to be hard on yourself about because I feel like
Exactly.
everybody wants to be so hard on themselves. So then the meditative thing, then some people get discouraged and they're like, I can't do it. I'm like, I love what you're saying because I truly do. I started so short. I was falling asleep at the beginning. Like when I was first started meditating, I would go into this like I
Yep,
love it too. You're traveling dimensionally, and I would have
yep.
never known that until much later. But I was like laying there and going to the beaches and just going into a different place and
Yeah,
sleeping. And I would be so hard on myself, like, why can't you stay awake? It took me like literally a long time to get past that. And it didn't matter though, because it's such once I got there, I felt such a connection, like, oh, I was overcomplicating this. Like truly overcomplicating.
well, because it's not organized thought,
No.
so we don't know what to do with it.
It's just the freeness. I need to just let go
Yeah,
and let flow. And before that, I was like, I'm autistic, so that's a part of it. I strive for structure. I
yeah,
need it. And so
yeah,
the being of just being was so hard for me for the longest time. I was like
sure,
grasping
sure.
on for dear life.
Well, no, I totally get that. And I totally understand it. I fell asleep too. I will confess right now, and I thought, am I that tired? Am I just tired? Why am I doing that? And I realized I was slowing my thoughts down so much. My brain was like, "Oh, we must be sleeping. It must be time to go to sleep."
I
And
did
so my
understand.
first many attempts at meditation were horrible bombs. I
Oh,
just didn't get it.
I know.
And it was just I was making it harder than I needed to.
That's
So I encourage people, it's okay. Just keep trying.
Yeah, just
And
try.
here's the cool part. Here's the cool part. Meditation does not mean, if you look it up, absence of thought.
Mm-mm.
It's just organized thought. Da-ding. It's just organized thought.
Right.
So you
Flow.
just have to focus on something. Sometimes it helps if you focus on your favorite image. Sometimes it's better to not focus on an image. Some people meditate with their eyes wide open,
I've
just
done that.
looking at nature. Um, you just put the phone down or put it on music and do not disturb, and give yourself a couple minutes a day to just breathe. Okay,
Right.
that's enough of the public service message on meditation. That's enough of that. Okay, do you know of anyone else in your family that has gifts like you?
Oh my goodness. Yes. So I do know that my mom is gifted, but she's not really in tune with like what it is. Like I've told her, like, I think this is what I think your gifts are. You know,
Mhm,
she's very in service to the people that she works with. She's an allergist and
mhm.
she's almost like this healing light and they call her a therapist and all this. And you know what that is.
Right.
You know, as
Oh,
a
sure.
healer, we all know like when we hear therapy, yeah. So people do feel like they can come to you and her be a therapist. But it's
Right,
like a light that I see in her that she just shines on to others unconditionally. She is like the sweetest, kindest woman. So I do say that of my mom. And
mhm.
I think my husband as well. You know, just the different aspects of like telepathy or
Oh, yeah.
my daughter even, she's 2. She's gonna be 3 in September, and she often will speak about things that we haven't said to her or you know she'll say things that I'm thinking in my mind. She'll
Mhm.
literally start saying them out loud. I'm like, oh, okay, we're very connected.
You're right.
um
Yeah.
yeah, so she'll just know things too. But I've always thought, I was like, I wonder if there are people who were gifted in my ancestry who you know snuffed out their gifts or you know kind of like went without them because of the fear, you know. And I do
Right.
native in my lineage, so I do know that that is also connected to a way I feel
Sure. Sure.
spiritually. But otherwise, you know, like they were fearful, and so I'm sure they just didn't talk about it or communicate it. But my grandmother, when I've talked to her about it now, she's so funny to hear, you know, someone who's much later in life have like
Right.
all this understanding of the world in a different way. You know, she was like
Right.
talking about generational trauma being passed down through DNA, and I was like, "You're what are you saying right now?"
Wow.
It
So
just
is she open to your gifts? Are you able to talk
yes,
to her
I'm
about what you
very
do?
yes, and I'm very open with my family about being gifted and knowing things. Sometimes like I had a stepbrother that I knew something like you know I just know stuff about
Right.
people. You're like oh,
Right.
and that's that where it comes into like they won't tell me things I'm not supposed to know. You know, like they're
Mhm.
not invading anyone's privacy. I have
Right.
high ethics and morals when it comes to what I'm doing, and like
Right.
I know that the information is sensitive, you know, and you know,
Correct.
but when it comes to family, I'm like, I know that y'all are gifted and y'all are just not really necessarily ever going to work in it in this form, like where I'm
Right.
a medium and doing sessions. But I feel like it comes to everybody in where they're meant to in life. You know, my husband is a mechanic and he reaches people in a spiritual sense it through his gifts, like in the only way that he can, you know, and there's
Right.
so many people that are meant to I have many midwives that I work with or teachers who have come into
Right.
their gifts and the way that they're now being able to understand, you know, the kids that they work with or
Right.
the moms, the dads, everybody, you know, around them,
Right.
um,
Mhm.
and be more vocal about their own gifts. So it's like cool, you know, the grocery store person who gets to know that they're psychic and like
Right.
that there's a more, you know, it kind of just opens up life to a different experience and adventure. I feel like it makes it so fun for me as a going to be 30-year-old. I'm like, I'm so grateful to have this understanding, you know, even if it was later, I feel like for me, later than I would want to have been, it was the right time, right? Like every
Right.
has that point in life when it's meant to be. And I'm grateful to like meet people like you who are so, you know, open and wanting to talk to other people who are my age, your age, I mean,
Right.
there's so many people who I feel like at 40s to 70s that I work with, women specific, it's typically someone that comes to me. I would say like so many of them had no clue that they were gifted. And then we
Right.
do a session and I'm like telling them these different things and they're like, oh, that's being gifted, you know?
Yeah.
And so I love
Right.
that you're like, all the little details matter and to
Yes, they
share
do.
those, individual experiences, you're going to speak to things that people are meant to hear when they're meant to hear them, just like
Right.
I am too. Oh no, my daughter's here. Hi, baby. I'm still talking. Can you close the door? My dad get played. Oh, he didn't. You got a bear? Can you lock the door? It's okay. She got a German Shepherd, and the year anniversary of my German Shepherd's passing is on the 31st, and
Oh.
we're running in here with a German Shepherd. I've been crying about it all day.
Oh.
The
No, I
animal.
get that. I totally get that.
Yeah. I do
We
animal communication too. So like that's
Yes.
the thing I also do. I communicate with living and past animals. And so to the grief has been one that I've never experienced in passing with a pet, and so a new one to take on and to learn about what people who are coming to me are feeling, in their grief.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's it's a it's very unique to have something that has unconditional love leave you.
I know.
There is nothing like it. There's nothing like it. But I'm glad that you brought up animals too, because I think people are sometimes afraid to talk about how much they love their animals. They just don't even they
Ooh.
can't even acknowledge it's like they've had family forever and they love their family, but their pets are like their bonded companions,
Hmm.
their
And
life partner.
toy, right?
Yeah.
And we
Yes.
pick them, and they pick us. I feel like I'm
I
sure
do too.
you've had pets where you've like, and I've just felt like, okay, they've come to me in a time in my life, like I'm meant to connect to this animal in some ways, and I'm one of those people that have saved animals who didn't get to stay so long Earthside, and
Mhm.
you're like, okay, even in those moments, these are animals you're meant to love and get to experience that love with,
Right.
even if they're only here for a brief moment. I mean, and all different, right? Like I have one dog who is a sassy little girl and
Yeah.
she is too fun, but she's taught so much about me. Like they teach you so much.
Yeah, they do.
And I think too, back to what you're saying about like people are afraid to talk about how their feelings when it comes to their pets. It's like people are afraid to have a certain level of vulnerability about most things because they're
Mhm.
like the sensitivity of it. But I'm a crier. I mean, like I cry over everything beautiful, sad, happy,
Commercials,
sad. Yeah.
movies,
It's
so
every
yeah.
emotion.
There's a great story in our family about one of our grandmothers because in the place my family is from Chicago, and there was this beautiful housing area that we had lived in, our family lived in, and there was a park behind this housing area, I guess that went near a school or something, I'm not sure. But my grandmother many times could be found at the kitchen sink bawling her eyes out because somebody fell off a swing, and she would just empathize to the point of tears. That poor little boy or that poor little girl, just bawling her eyes out because somebody else got hurt.
That's so
And
special. That
I
is
love that though, but I love that because that's one of the most prominent things about her personality that people remember is how much she engaged in compassion for other people
Oh,
and
thank you
empathy.
for sharing that because that's very much the type of person that I am, and sometimes
Yeah,
very hard on myself because I'm Scorpio, so there's layers to it, and
of course.
the different things I experienced in life where they're like I went through a lot of abuse through partners and my parent, and
Right.
so emotions were scary for me for a long time, and once I just kind of like said, I'm going to feel all things, good and bad, and embrace it. It was such a beautiful part of life for
But
me.
part of that is being a Scorpio female. So
Yeah.
you just as a Scorpio female, I know this is something I never have discussed on this before, but I will do it. Um, I know a fair amount about horoscopes just because I studied them immensely when I was a kid.
That's so
Because
cool.
I was trying to figure out what I was. I didn't know
Right.
what I was. And my mom told me I was psychic eventually, and I didn't know what that term was. I had to look that up. But in the course of my studies, I learned a lot about different horoscope signs. And I have a sister that's Scorpio. I have several best friends that are Scorpio. And I can tell you, for anyone listening or watching, if you're a Scorpio female, it's going to be okay. Because Scorpio women are so powerful and they're so intense and they're so elevated in their emotions and they never feel safe. It takes a lot for a Scorpio woman to let her guard down and just let it all hang out because they wound so deeply and so easily, unfortunately,
Thank you, because
that
I
it's hard. And no,
agree.
it's hard. Genuinely, it's hard. Everyone gets wounded,
Right.
but not everybody deals with it the same way. And Scorpios are so hurt by
I
the
think
time you hit
right.
your age, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's gonna get worse as you get older because there's layers of wounding like an onion, and you get to where I just can't do it anymore because you feel it so sharply.
Right. And
So if you can find forgiveness for people that have wounded you, you'll be better off and you'll make it further.
you're
I'll
so
tell you that much.
I love you for this because that is literally so prominent in my life right now. That is something I've like learned over the last year. I like had a very deep wound in a friendship and I had to react differently than I have ever before. You know, I had to
Mhm.
change how I handled it. And it was so hard because I had to let myself feel it. And before
Yeah,
I would get so resentful, I would just completely shut down from the emotion. And now I had to feel it. And it was this immense, you know, so many things: hurt, resentment, and carrying a big gaping wound with
sure.
me for several months. And then I was like, I am not taking this on anymore. Like, I am going to I'm going to forgive myself at the
Right.
minimum.
Well, and part of what goes with that is getting to a point where you understand that when you keep resentment and pain, you're letting somebody live rent free in your head.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that saying.
And I do too, because it's accurate. It's accurate.
Well, not
And
you,
you're
him. That's my husband's late mama. She always says that. That is, and I literally swear that I can hear it
yeah.
now. Like,
Yeah.
somebody
Well,
live rent free in your
and
head.
that's the thing. You only got so much energy. Why would you give away what you can do good with? Why
And
would you give that
was
away?
okay. So I processed the situation, and I was like, "It's okay. Hurt people, and
Yes, they do.
I have to just say it is what it is this time, and
Right.
let things go." And I felt so much better for it. Like it was a few
Good.
months ago that I did, but it too. I think that's so important because I think a lot of specifically Scorpio women that I've connected to, it's like that they fear that part of themselves,
Oh,
like
heck yeah.
the divine rage that comes through. But I think that it's just one thing that it's that powerful that heightened connection or energy and just not knowing what your vessel doesn't know what to do with it. You know, like I feel that
Exactly.
often. I'm like, this
Right.
anxiety, and I tell that to a lot of people I work with. I see a lot of people who deal with anxiety, and it's like it's that energy. You're tapping into the energy around you. Of
It's
course, it's going to give
intense.
you an anxiety because it's something that you're perceiving and not knowing that it's there, you know. And so a lot of people just
Right.
through life with debilitating anxiety. And of course, a lot of anxiety can be something a disorder too. I'm just saying, like,
Right.
there's a lot of anxiety I feel like gifted people deal with because they don't realize, you know, they're connecting.
Well,
And
they're not understanding that it's the cause of their sensitivity is
right.
what's yeah, that just being around, and that's my other question that I have for you that I love. This is one of my favorite questions. How many psychic vampires have you had around you?
Oh, so bad. I've been
Yeah.
and I think it's relationships have been the worst, you know, like
Yeah.
I have truly put myself in situations and connections with people who have mistreated me under the guise of like me feeling like I'm helping them. You know, like I remember being
Mhm.
in a long-term abusive relationship, and that was the biggest one for me is like I can reflect on that. That person was literally vampiric in nature,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and I've had friends that I've now noticed that. And where you just have to say, okay, I'm not going to gaslight myself because I think a lot of people do that too. They sense something about somebody and then they think like because they assume it's an assumption. They don't want to go
Right.
with that intuition of oh, this is something that your guides or even your higher self source, whatever the term, someone's
Right.
trying to impress upon you that something's not right with that.
Right.
And they are connected. It's almost like moths to a flame. You know, you're a light in this darkness, and a lot of them are just going to be attracted to you because of that energy, and they want to take
Right.
because you have that immensity. And I think too, like I felt that a lot as an adult, you know, as coming into the knowledge of like, oh, that's what is happening to me when I'm coming into contact with these types, specific types
Right.
of people. Um, okay, that's a good awareness, because before I was like drained, or even taking on their emotions of like, you know, at times like anger or frustration or these other things that you're then gaining from them because
Right.
of the energy. But anyways, I don't like it. I'm very,
Yeah, it's rough. It's
stay
rough.
away from me.
Right. So when you're doing your mediumship work, what is one or two of your favorite parts of being a medium?
I love the peace that I feel a lot of people come to when we come into session, and just that someone who for so long didn't think had a purpose, is able to work in service to others and really share my gift in a way that is impactful. You know, and for so long I thought, you know, because I thought I was wrong because of my
Mhm.
gifts. I thought that I was evil or something was wrong with me. I didn't
Right.
see my worthiness. And so that caused a lot of issues with depression and suicide and addiction. And
Right.
to know all of those things, like those feelings, like I was meant to be here to connect to people. I connect often to people who have lost people through addiction and suicide and different things. And so I know my journey is a meant to those
Sure.
different things attributed to me being able to reach people in a different way. So I
Right.
think that that is such a gift. You know,
It
those
is.
to know that I have a more is such an incredible thing, and to get to work with other people who are just like having fun like you, and get to have fun in life, you know, because everything's so serious at times. I'm like, I want to have an adventure. You know, I'm
Yeah.
a mom, I'm a woman, I'm a wife, a daughter, and I'm wanting a soul who wants to experience the human experience to the fullest, and,
Right.
and not limit myself with like the fears or anything like that. But yeah, I think that is such a gift to be able to bring peace or understanding to certain situations. And just too is like to know that they are able to then take that information and apply it to their lives, and in knowledge of, hold on, I hear her
I
being
know here.
silly. uh, yeah, so just them knowing that they can connect on their own, because that's a big thing I always talk about, just like you, is like you can receive signs from your loved ones through all of your senses, your
Yeah.
I call them, you know, your clairs. And so
Right.
whatever way that you receive information, a lot of times I think it's clairsentience is the biggest one I notice for people
Mhm.
who haven't fully felt it out.
Right.
Yeah, and them knowing that, it's so exciting to see like the light click, or like the
Yes.
like, or them message me like, oh my gosh, they sent me this sign, or like the way that the all the signs connected. Like I love it. I like get so excited hearing about their experiences,
That
or
is awesome.
songs, you know, like oftentimes I hear a lot of music. I hear songs. And so I'll be driving and I'll hear this song for this person, and I'll like, okay, I actually will text them. Like any of my
Nice.
clients I'm close with, I'm like, hey, I heard this song. And then for them to relay it back to me, like this is the memory that it connects to, or this is what this song
Right.
to me. I mean, indescribable that spirit shows up for us in a way that unconditional love, because what are they gaining from other than
Right.
to see you flourish and to blossom in life? Like I just love my guides. Like that's a big
Yep.
thing, like
I love mine too. I have a very mixed bag of guides and they do different things at different times, but they're such characters. And my husband's
oh.
guides are a scream. They are so, so entertaining and so fun. And if I could, I would love to have a session with everybody that wants it and just help them find their guides.
Me
Because
too.
if you can connect with your guides, it is like having your best aunt and uncle hang out with you and call you on your shit.
It's so funny the stuff that they say to me.
Yes.
They'll check me, like
Yes.
especially when I'm being very difficult on myself. I'll hear them like, what are you even doing right now?
Right. Yeah.
I love
I
it.
love it. Well, and like my husband has a guide named Bobby who is very concerned with his artistic side because my husband's a musician. And so he wants him to exercise that at all times. And so he gets really upset if Doug doesn't wear colors. He gets so irate. And so he'll make a statement when Doug's getting dressed. No,
That's
not again.
not it. I
He
love
just
that.
gets so mad. And then he gets really, of course, then he's a cheerleader too, because when Doug wears colorful things or things that bring out his eyes or whatever, Bobby will go, "Oh, it's about time." It's so fun to hear the comments,
I
though.
know
It's
the
a
comments
riot.
is so
I
fun.
love it. I love it. I have a guide that his name is spelled Ian, but he pronounces it Ian. And I learned that in a Nordic tongue, that's normal, I guess,
Ah,
something
I
like
love
that.
that. That's so cool.
Yeah. And he looks like the cartoon caveman kind of image. He has furry animal type skins that he wears. He's never shaved, and his hair looks like 8 miles of dirt road, and he is extremely blunt and very short on speech, but he's also so smart and so wise, and he just understands me. He knows when to tell me things and when not to, when to
Yeah.
leave me alone, and I just adore him. I
I feel
do,
that
and I
way
don't
about
probably
Anthony.
say that enough. He's just super cool, and I don't know if you've ever had this happen or not. I'm gonna give you a scenario. So this lady I was doing a reading for, totally in another state, in Wisconsin, I think, is where she lives, and I'm doing this random psychic reading for her, and I had to stop and I started laughing, and she goes, "What's so funny?" And I said, "Your spirit guide and my spirit guide are buddies. They know each other and they're sitting at a campfire talking while we're talking." It was amazing. He
I love
looked
that.
giddy like a kid.
Yeah, like a remembrance or connection. Like you said,
Yes,
it's beyond.
they were uber connected.
I know.
But just to see Ian's face, I did it again, sorry.
Mhm.
Ian looked like he was seeing an old family member, and he did not. It's like they just completely disconnected from us, and it was like, I don't know, I can't explain this, but like when I first got married many years ago, my nana came from Italy, okay, as a girl,
Mhm.
and my in-law nana, same. They were both 13 years old when they rode a boat from Italy to the United States.
That is so cool. Not my
So
phone.
they
My
had
phone
never
has
met.
1%. I'm gonna move my phone while I listen to you.
Yeah. So they had never met before, and here they were becoming family because of the circumstances, and they sat and had this amazing conversation for like 3 hours at the reception, and they cried and they laughed and they just had all this stuff, and I went to run over and my aunt grabbed my arm and said, "Nope, leave them alone." And I'm like, "Are they okay?" And she said, "Oh my god, yes. They're just two girls from Italy catching up."
Oh my
And I
god.
thought, "Oh my god." But that's what, Ian did with this other guide. And it was like, my goodness, they were so giddy. They were so cute and they were so intense. And I thought, wow,
It's
all
just
that
that.
experience.
Yeah, I think it's like it reminds me of like, when you see a soul that you've known forever and just getting to connect with them again. And I'm sure it's like, we have no concept of time or whatever it is.
Right.
I'm not even,
Yeah.
and like I understand, but I'm sure they waited for a long time, or in some way they like, and they're like, oh, I'm so excited to be around them again. And
Right.
I felt that with like, I have someone whom I'm really close to that's she was my client who turned into one of my great friends, and she's also
Mhm.
a medium, and I was gonna share her information with you, but
Sure.
I digress. I love how they brought her up. Whenever I worked with her, it was like I felt that same feeling in us. Like I was like, this incredible connection that it was indescribable because I had not felt that way. And it's just like I had known her a million years. And like,
Mhm.
the excitement just came through me. I was like, I just can't wait to
Nice.
create with this person. And at the time, she
Right.
wasn't aware of her gifts or that she was gifted or anything, but now works as a medium. And I don't know, I just think that's so cool because I was like, I had no
That is cool.
concept of what it was, the connection or anything. I
Right.
felt like this is my best friend and I've missed her forever. And I felt
Right.
I resonate with that so deeply. I thought that was so neat that that's the story that you're sharing because I was like, I really resonate with that. So cool.
Yeah, I love that. I had another psychic tell me that my cousin Joe and I were twins in a past life, and I can totally see that.
I can see that because I was gonna tell you, I Joe and your energy is so crazy. The way how similar y'all feel, like,
Yeah,
is so crazy, and the way y'all look too. Like,
and isn't it funny?
it's
I
the
know, it's
outfit
like
too. I'm like, oh my god, I
yes.
totally twins. Yep,
Oh,
that
yeah.
makes sense
But
to me.
it's incredible because we can finish each other's sentences a lot of times, and I just when she says something, I'm right there with her. I
I
understand
love
what
that.
she means.
That's
It's cool, and we did not grow up together, so but I'm glad that we get to hang out now. It's awesome.
effortless connection. I love that.
So, is there anything, Winter, that we have not talked about that you think would be important to share tonight?
Ooh, I don't know. I do think something that I'm really excited to share more about and work in is I'm wanting to work in unsolved homicides and
Mhm.
cold cases. And I am a trance medium. And so I've been sitting in trance for several years now, and it's developing more and more. And I'll have to share some of my sitting with you so that you can like see what I've been working on. But
Sure.
essentially it's been impressed upon me like channeling in a way that helps either victims or said perpetrators like come through and to help cases. And
Right.
I'm not sure what that looks like right now. I'm because I'm just like along for the ride. You know, my
Right. No, I
my
totally get that. I
journey
totally get that.
and you're aligning with it. But I've always felt connected to it. You know, since I was a little girl, I told you I watched The Ghost Whisperer and Cold
Oh,
Case. I
yeah.
felt this like soul connection to the idea of helping
Right.
others in that way. And so it has manifested throughout my journey as a medium,
Mhm.
opportunities with detectives. And I was like, I don't know how that even works. And I just hope to put myself more out there so that I can either, you know, take courses in developing it more or just because something that was impressed upon me from spirit is like it's just going to take me sitting in repetition and working in my trance to
Mhm.
achieve some of the goals that I'm wanting. And as a mom, that's very difficult, you know, like
Yes, it
to
is. It
manage
is.
time. And but I want to show up for her, and spirit's like that's what you're supposed to do. You're
Right.
supposed to be doing this slow, you know, it's
Right.
not a race. And just that kind of like take the journey as it is. And I'm really excited to see what comes up, but it's something that I'm working heavily in. I've done evidential for so long, and it's something I love immensely and
Mhm.
continue to do. But I that's something I just want to work in as a goal is to try to help even like missing persons, missing dogs. Like I just think that there's so many people that have gifts that can be applied to there's millions
Right.
of unsolved cases, you
Yep.
know, and to even give two people, one person, some kind of knowledge of what occurred, you know,
Yep.
is an immense thing. And I hope that us talking about it and more people talking about it will then normalize because there's been so many detectives who have been psychic, like you were talking about, and have solved
Yes.
and mediums who have solved cases. And so
Yes.
it's it is definitely possible, and it's just needing to be more vocalized that like this is a possibility, you know, and then more detectives will then reach out to mediums. I'm hoping like it'll be a whole thing, but you know, at the very least, that's something that I will always talk about is the importance of like coming into your gifts and following your heart, you know,
Yeah.
and knowing like it's not a coincidence that you feel so guided to do something and to
Right.
align with something, and your purpose is very much like ebbing and flowing, you know, it's going to change. And
Right.
I've
Absolutely.
watched myself evolve as a medium, you know, and over the years. And I just think I can't wait to see what the next chapter is, you know, and I love that for other people. That's my big
Oh,
thing is
yeah.
I want to know what's in your next chapter and what's in your next
Exactly.
chapter because I get so excited for people and their own gifts and how spirit manifests in their lives, you know, and the beautiful way that we receive signs. You know, me getting the black dragonfly that came right next to me earlier when I was thinking about my dog who had passed, and you know, that
Mm-hmm.
confirmation from spirit. Like, I don't
Yeah.
want people to miss that, you know, because they're
Right.
misunderstanding what it is. I think that it's so many beautiful parts of the world that they'll miss if they are afraid of it, you know. And so I love
Right.
what you're doing. I think you're amazing.
Thank you. So tell me, of all the work that you're doing, what are you most proud of?
Mhm. I think just the way that I've made an impact in ways that I didn't realize that I could. And for myself, not giving up on myself when I thought that I wasn't worth pouring into, and really just being able to be of service to others. A big thing for me is like I find so much gratitude in just existing and working with others, that it's like it's so fun when the more happens, you know, like when you see the light go off in someone's eyes when they realize I'm gifted and I've been talking to my dad this whole time, you know, their dad who's been passed for years. Or
Right.
you know, for you who have parents in spirit, um it's like you get to have that connection with them that otherwise you would lose, you know. And so I'm proud of being able to be a voice when I have not always been, and be able to talk to others about their experience, and to
Right.
validate for them too, like what you're experiencing is so real and your loved ones are right there, and it's
Right.
a beautiful thing to share with others. Is like, and I think that's missed sometimes in our industry. I think a lot of people are, not to be, but it is perpetuated by like money, you know, and less about connection. And I love when it's just, I'm not doing this for money at all. Like, this
Yeah.
is just because I love what I do and I love connecting
Right.
with others. And I think it's really cool what you're doing.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to help somebody get closure with someone that's passed on, but I also, like you, if there's signs that they think maybe was their person connecting with them and they find out, oh, it was.
Hmm.
That was them trying to get their attention, or that was them that hid the keys, or that was them that did
So
whatever it is
cool.
that I find in spirit. And so that to me is delight and bliss. It's like I can't even put words to it. There's nothing like helping somebody because it helps me too.
Right. It's an
It helps
indescribable
me
joy.
feel like, wow, I didn't do anything. I'm just the radio on the
Right.
other side,
I
and I'm just sharing what I
know.
hear basically, or what's broadcast through me,
Yeah.
and man, it's cool. The
It,
stories that I hear from people are just I couldn't make them up if I tried. They're too awesome.
I
They're
know, it's
too
so fun.
incredible,
I love
and
that you said that too. Like, I always tell people we're just a frequency, right?
yes,
And what I'm doing is like, and I related it to somebody who just, some skeptical people I was talking to, and they were like, "Oh, I watch paranormal investigations." I said, "So think about it as like the different devices they use. Like, we're on a frequency, and I'm
right,
honestly
exactly.
up here repeating the information that is coming through me. And a lot of times I'm not even retaining a lot of it because it is truly just organic.
It's
Uh,
coming through a channel that you're not
yeah.
usually using.
So
Yes,
I'm just having
exactly.
fun. But something that you said really triggered something in me. And it was that when I started meditating and I started connecting to source energy, I felt what in my guides is like what I would describe as heaven. Like, I felt an indescribable bliss and love
Yeah,
and acceptance, and just, you know, where you're like, oh, I I love this connection, you know, and I wish that I would have known that this was here the whole time.
right.
Is
No, I agree with that because I think if more people felt like, yeah, there for sure is a place you're going when you die, and it's amazing.
oh, beautiful.
And one of my favorite things that I love to share with people is when it comes up, um, that family members stay together, number 1, and wherever beef there was on earth, there isn't anymore. It's
That's earth
gone.
stuff. Yeah, that's
It's
earth stuff.
gone,
Yeah,
and that they actually sit down and have meals together and hang out.
they do. That's how I perceive them. That's so
They
funny you
play
say that.
frisbee, they
I
throw balls for the dog. I mean,
they
there's
dance.
this cool
Yeah,
stuff that happens that's
yeah.
so love. It's all love.
That's so funny
They're
you say that. I always see them like I'll see them like especially when it's big groups of people's family, they'll be
yes,
all vibing together like at the
yes,
barbecue or like they like to hang out on the couch and vibe too. Like I'll see them in different ways, but just that
yeah,
a big group of everybody just having a good time. And it is very much like it's not always the way that it was for them. You know, a lot of them have achieved an understanding of different experiences in their life.
right,
They are very different. And it doesn't mean like they don't come through and show me their personality earth side,
right,
but
right,
they have this different understanding of like in a way that I could never fathom, right? Because they're gone.
right,
And
right,
they have reached a
exactly.
different place of being. And I don't know. I just think it's so neat to connect to people who, you know, sometimes they'll have you know, difficulties in relationships with people who have passed, and I know that they'll feel a lot of resentment towards that person and just like invalid so, right? But
Right,
oftentimes the person comes through so apologetically or in such a different way. They're like, I know I
right,
was wrong. I know I was this person and there's no like apology for it. It's often just like remorse or like an understanding, you know, and like
right,
that I know that I was what and two, they'll come to through and they'll be like very guardian angel energy and the person will tell me, uh, but we didn't get along. You know, like they'll clarify for me like
right.
me
Yeah,
and
yeah,
her had a lot of difficulties in communication or we fought or whatever it was and then but they'll say but I do watch over them, you know, I do come
right.
through and
Sure.
protect. I always think that's funny. I'm like, do I tell? And it's situational, right? You're like, do I tell them?
Right.
Do they
Yeah,
want to hear that?
exactly.
Like, are they what? Are they in a place to receive that? You know, from spirit or you know, because everybody's at a different place in their journey. Not everybody's at that point where they're like ready to hear something like.
Exactly.
But
Okay, so for listeners again, please give us your .com for anyone listening that wants to get a hold of you.
okay, my .com is www.therealmedium.com and real is spelled REEL.
Awesome. Well, Winter, this has been too much fun. We're gonna have to do this again.
I'm
I
excited.
am so glad that we got to chat, and I'm so glad that Joe connected us because I think that was
Me
totally
too.
kismet. We
It's the
needed to.
universe, and it's angel numbers right now. I was gonna tell you it's 733, and 33 is a huge number for me
That's
from my
awesome.
stepdad who's passed, and I just think that's always so funny the way that he comes through.
I
But yeah,
love that.
I kept coming across Joe, and I was
That's
like,
cool.
I'm connected to them. Like, there's no way. And then they have
Right.
a cat that they bring with them to the farmers market.
Yes,
I
yes.
fucking love. I love him
Yep.
so much.
That is awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I appreciate you so much.
Yes, thank you so much.
I'm
And I
gonna.
have to ask for anyone watching on YouTube, I know this is a pain in the butt, but please hit the like button, hit subscribe, and if this has information that you like, please do these things because it helps bring the channel to other people that just wanna hear about these types of things.
Right, and
And
we
it
love
doesn't
talking
cost
about
anything. It
it.
just takes a second. Just do it for me if you would. Hit the thumbs up and hit subscribe. It helps a lot. Thank you again, Winter,
Thank
and I'll be
you.
talking to everybody soon. Have a wonderful week, and this is Holly from Holly's Pandora, and say, "See you later."
Bye.